everybody. Welcome into Odd Rhythm Fancy Sports. I'm your host, Jamie, and my co host is fashionably late for some odd reason.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know where he went. I don't know where he is. I know he'll be here sometime, I'm sure, but I figured I might as well get the party started and I might as well just kind of just get going, man, because time's a crunching, time's a wasting, and yeah, welcome everybody to Odd Rhythm Fancy Sports. I'm Jamie. Like I said before, we're doing a Week 17 recap. We're gonna get into all kinds of goodies. Yeah, it's hopefully it'll be a shorter show this time than a longer show. There's no waiver wires in this one. We're not doing a week 18 or anything like that. So it should be a lot easier for us to maintain maybe an hour show, hopefully. That's my plan anyways, but it always seems to happen when me and him get going. We're always like 2 hours. So we always have a lot of content that we always want to put out to everybody. And yeah, make sure you guys follow us. Let me pop this up here quick. Um, yeah, make sure you guys follow us on all of our platforms up here on Spotify, Apple, and Google. Make sure you follow us there. Our Discord link is actually in the description. And yeah, just make sure you guys follow us and whatnot. So other than that, my co-host finally decides to show up, and but yeah, other than that, welcome in, buddy. He probably has
Yeah, I
no.
was I was trying to fix some audio difficulties. Yeah, whatever Jay was parlaying there. Nope. Well, I'm gonna be doing some parlays later, but whatever information he was getting across there, go out, check out some of the old shows we have up on Spotify, YouTube, all the goodies, Google, Apple, all that stuff. Discord. It's the end of the season, end of the fantasy season for footballs, but there's always good basketball content. If you're into hockey, NASCAR, whatever your speed is, always good conversation over on the Discord.
Yes. And if you guys don't, we are on Twitter. I do post some stuff over there. And just the other day, I actually posted, or just last night, I posted a few things with some statistics over there on Twitter. So, I mean, if you guys don't follow us, go over there. It's right up there on my little @ sign there at Autorhythm Fan. So go over there and follow us. Conversate with me there, and if you want, I mean, we're always down for some people who we're looking forward to 2024 actually getting other people in with our channel, different discussions with different people. So I mean, if you're a content creator, come over, send me a DM either on Twitter or up on our Discord. The link is in the description below. We're just looking forward to just getting out there, making relations with people, and we like to work with you. So if there's any content creators out there, give us a jingle. It's 2024. I'm at the point where we've been doing this for a year now, and I'm ready to kind of make some relationships and kind of get our name out there a little bit more by people clicking and sharing our links and all that good stuff. So if there's some content creators out there, give us a jingle. Just give us a jingle. But yeah, other than that, just make sure you follow all of our stuff down there. Go ahead.
Yeah. If you want to network with us, like Jay was saying, a couple different ways to do that. So we hope to connect. Obviously, what he was saying in 2024, hopefully be a big year for us. Thanks, Eric. You bet, man. Happy New Year to you as well, and to
Yep.
Anybody else that's tuning in. But yeah, it should be a great stream tonight. So we're gonna close out the kind of the football part of the fantasy year officially. So we'll get into some DFS stuff. I've got as you can tell by the scroll, there's a ton of starters that are out this week, so it's gonna make everything a little more difficult. Which is why I'm glad like the traditional fantasy season is over. Everybody that's in their leagues is pretty much, I'd say 98% of them are done. So you have the rare occasional league that'll go into week 18. But there's so we won't even touch on waivers or any of the other stuff that we used to get into, for the past few months. But we will do couple of my Goldstar players, couple of Jay's big hitters. Like I said, DFS. We'll review some of the week 17 action. Like I said, 2024 is here, man. How was your New Year?
It was very, very boring because I'm a night owl. I got to work at night, so I mean, it was just kind of one of those like, But hey, you know what? When I'm a night owl, so I do a lot of my work at night. So that's when a lot of my creativity actually kind of mumbles around, and a lot of my podcasts happen. When I hear a lot of different opinions on a lot of different things. That's where I form a lot of my opinions on the way we put out our content as well. So yeah, it's just one of those things. It's good and bad at the same time because you don't want to feel like you're a total bum just going to work and everybody else is out there just drinking it up, partying, but I don't know, maybe I'm just too old for that stuff. I don't know.
Should have popped a little of the bubbly.
I should.
No, I'm not much better, man. Got home late and put on a movie. got the old Terramana tequila out, and the rest is history.
Cool.
Woke up.
Yeah, I didn't do a lot of. I
woke up around like 10:30 New Year's Day. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I think I had a little bit of wine here. Other than that, I didn't really have much.
Yeah, no. And
Go ahead. He just stopped talking. I'm not sure what happened there, but
yeah, I was gonna say I was trying to act frozen there. Yeah, a little bit of the lagging. If anybody that's watched the stream, if you want to comment on New Year's, how your New Year's went, we'd love to hear as well. Share that for everybody. If yours was a little more entertaining than ours, if you watched some football, I know I was watching the end of that Packers Vikings game. That's the last thing I remember. Got into that Terramana. Rock makes a great tequila, by the way. You guys haven't tried that, but yeah, that I don't know if you want to get into games, a little bit here. We probably start with that. Just hit on that Packers Vikings game quick because that's probably the most. Because I was out doing stuff and on the road Sunday, so I didn't see a ton of the action. But that was the one game that I saw. I'd say I saw the most of.
Yeah, that and if you get a lot of you guys, I know a lot of us actually had our fantasy championships. It's at this end of week 17. A lot of us were pressing to win a championship and whatnot. And here's a quick story. I went into 2023 with 17 odd leagues, and a lot of them I was hoping for a championship, and a couple of them are dynasty. And anyways, I'm like, well, this should be a breeze. And no, I kind of fell short in a few of the leagues that I actually wanted to win. And I actually, in my IDP league, was my only opportunity to actually win a championship. So coming into late Sunday evening, I was actually like just like at awe because I was actually up at. Well, here's the funny thing: I actually had Breece, I had Flacco, and I think I had one other guy, and who actually had got me out to a nice like 100-point odd league. So I'm like, oh, I got this in a wrap. Nope, not even close. So next thing you know, it actually came down to Pickens, Kenneth Walker, and Rashid Rice. And he had Marlon Mack, he had Dante Johnson, and one other guy. So it was literally coming down to the wire, and I'm like, yep, I lost. I was like just sad because I didn't win no championships at all. And for some odd reason, the fantasy gods turned that around.
Oh,
Pickens went off for 100.
They took one big shit on your year.
They almost did. They did, but
Bastards.
they turned it around. But I won at least one championship this year, so I'm happy about that. So my year wasn't in vain. So I was totally happy that I got one championship. But I wish it was more. But a lot of my leagues I ended up finishing third, fourth, and some fifth. So wasn't a bad year, but overall it could have been better. So if there's anybody piss poor, I watched Hall be trapped. Come on. Breece Hall was awesome. Breece Hall had like 30 some odd points. Come on now. I mean, yeah, Jason, I know you're in our dynasty league, but come on now. I know you're waiting for one particular segment, and you're gonna have to hold on to those horses over there because I know we had a little bit of a conversation in our Discord about a couple prospects, but I don't know. One league he lost by 13 points thanks to Addison and the wrong Hall. Wrong Hall. Oh, Jaron Hall, the Viking. Yeah, the Vikings quarterback. Yeah, that. Here's the sad part. Hall. He actually came in, got smacked, went out, didn't even start. Came and then he comes back, does another. Tries to be the starter. Evidently gets hurt again. So it's kind of like, what the hell? This was a rookie too from BYU, so it's kind of sad. And I figured Mullins, I actually had Mullins started in a league. I didn't know he was scratched, and then next thing you know, Mullins was in, and I'm like, oh. But so if any of you guys got any, fantasy, downs, ups, let us know in the comment section below. Come on, just get in there, could chit chat with us while we're streaming tonight. We would more gladly appreciate it. It'd be awesome. But yeah, we can since you wanted to talk about that Vikings game, we can
Well, I was gonna say quick, Jay. I was gonna say the problem we run into with these leagues in 2023 is that you shouldn't have championship matchups where key players in those matchups are Marlon Mack and Jaron Hall. You know what I mean? Just where we're at with the fantasy landscape, just with all the injuries and contract situations. Guys like, I think probably both Bengals receivers going to be out this week, but I think T Higgins has been sandbagging it because he wants that contract. He's like, I'm not going out there again, unless I'm 100%, unless I'm getting that bag. So I think it's just a various things. But just on my end, quick, 1 for 5. Got one championship, and the other 5 leagues will all be top 5 finishes. So, and that's where you're at too. Degrazi. But yeah, that's where you're at too. Championship, but a bunch of top 5 finishes. Nothing wrong with that. Fantasy football, I think it has never been more difficult. And you can't just like, your sister can't just set a team and she's 9-5 and in the playoffs. You know what I mean? In your 12-man whatever league, you really have to do maintenance from week 1 to week 15, 17ish. I mean, it's a grind. And so that's nothing to hang your hat about if or any of you guys, if you had top 5 finishes in your league. That's a great, that to me, because most people are in at least 10 to 16 man leagues. So if you're finishing a top 5, you're in the better half of your league. So that's a successful year in my book.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's not easy at all. I mean, it all starts, a lot of people, think it starts with, I mean, some of the stuff does start at your draft, but it comes down to hitting those waiver wires, those ads and drops, and getting the right people at the right time is really the key. So I mean, with some of it starts at the draft, getting your certain key players, and then it's mostly hitting those waiver wires.
Fuck.
Just keep talking. I can hear you. But yeah,
I'm the disembodied voice. I'm back.
Yeah, just keep talking, man. Let's keep talking. It's all.
There we go. No, yeah, I tried something different tonight. I tried to go directly in with the Ethernet cables. So we're trying to get a better connection because as you all know, my connection on this end is usually the drizzling shits. So we're trying something different. So bear with me. But yeah, we appear to be back. Eric had a comment there. What did Eric say?
Oh yeah, he
Pull
agreed.
that back up here.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean,
What did
fantasy
Eric
football is
say?
difficult because
Oh, yep.
I mean, you don't know because you don't know which
Yep.
guys are going to injured, which guys are coming up next, unless you're really kind of into the dynasty stuff, and then you might have an idea of roster, who's in the pecking order and stuff like that. So I mean, a lot of your average players, a lot of guys, is that a lot of your average guys that don't play dynasty don't know a lot of these extra names, and the only time they actually know these names is when that guy goes off that week. Then you're like, oh shit. So that's when the waiver claims and stuff like that are going in. But if you know a guy, these guys, if you know the names beforehand, then you're actually better off that way. That's my opinion. Dynasty kind of helps. Oh, I guess I was kind of not a dynasty guy for a little bit. It's I know you and I are trying to get more guys into dynasty to actually open up our variety, like not variety, our horizons of just
Open up
knowledge
the
and just
palette.
yeah, pretty much, yeah, just kind of like, oh shit, because
Yeah, it's like these guys. A lot of these guys are steak and potato kind of guys. But hey, you need to open up that palate sometimes. Go eat at a Vietnamese restaurant. Go
yeah,
eat at Italian cuisine or something. Diversify the palate a little bit. And I wasn't either. I mean, Dynasty, I'm hooked. Preferably, I'd like an auction. I think I'd get my jollies off if there was an auction Dynasty league. That I think that's my speed because the league we did with Jared, some of the waiver stuff I didn't agree with totally, and just how things worked out there, and the lack of IR spots. But I love the auction aspect of that league we did, and if we could combine that with a dynasty league, I'd be a one happy boy.
yeah, and it all
But yeah,
comes.
dynasty's great. You guys, if you guys haven't tried dynasty, you are missing out.
It all comes down to a happy medium. Everybody's got their different opinions when it comes to how they want their league set up. I mean, yeah, I mean, I love auctions. They're a little bit, I know at first you're more kind of just just a snake draft guy, but I'm like, hey, dude, you need to try out some auction drafts and stuff like that, and just I just think auction drafts get to be a little bit longer, but it kind of brings everybody into, you don't have to worry, it's kind of everybody's kind of in that that in that money pot, so I mean it's like they have that opportunity to get that player if they want to, instead of like, oh shit, they got first round pick or second, well I won't get that guy, so I mean that's the nice thing
Yep.
about auctions, so I mean it gives everybody a happy medium to get in a player that they want on their team than a snake draft where they're just boring. Then you have to wait, and then it's like, some people they just want it now. So I mean, I think auctions are a little bit more fonder than snake drafts. I mean, I don't mind snake drafts here and there too as well, but I mean, auctions seem to be a little bit more fun because you get a little bit more engagement that way. But
Absolutely. Got hooked on. Yeah, this kind of a transitional year, and for other sport. I mean, you can apply this to other sports too. I'll be honest. Sometimes I lose interest in basketball and baseball. We do some leagues, and I think that would do like a baseball dynasty, basketball dynasty. I think that would up my interest, because I'm hooked on this dynasty stuff. This is pretty much all I want to do now for fantasy, unless there's a new something new that pops up. Some new
yeah,
league concept, but the traditional way, the snake draft is, I don't know, it's just kind of passe.
yeah, it is. It's kind of like, Yahoo's kind of getting to be kind of like the ESPN, where Sleeper is kind of taking over everything now, and a lot of people don't. I just like the aspects of Sleeper in general. I mean, I prefer it a little bit more just because you can actually see, you can actually look at, all the statistics and stuff like that, all the in-game stuff like that. So I mean, it's a little bit. I just like the format of it. They just need to get some college football in there now, and I'll be a happy camper. And but other than that, it's I like Sleeper in general. I mean, I just think it's just a better platform. If Yahoo could do something to change up their stuff a little bit more, then maybe. But I mean, I still don't mind Yahoo. I mean, it's Yahoo's a little bit better than ESPN. I don't even play on ESPN. I mean, I don't even play football on ESPN anymore because it's just I don't. I mean, I do a little baseball on there, but other than that, when it comes to football, I
Garbage.
don't. I don't
No,
even.
it's it, I
I
bro, I used to do if you guys believe it, I used to do hockey. I did a fantasy hockey league with some friends back in Minnesota, years ago, and like that was on ESPN. And I think I think they've steadily gone downhill because even that was pretty good setup. I think ESPN just has been stagnant, and I think it's trash. If you're gonna Sleeper is the way, and I don't think enough people know about Sleeper that the hardcore fantasy people do. But when you think if you're gonna sign your cousin up or something, like, hey, I want you to join my league, my football league or my so and so like daily picks or whatever, it's always through Yahoo. I just think Sleeper's got to get a bigger name amongst the general population. I think because you're hardcore, you know what value Sleeper brings, but if you're a casual fantasy person, which I would say most people are, Sleeper just needs to get a bigger presence.
Yeah, they have, like honestly, like for me, because I love college football, they have like the whole platform set up for college football. All I need to do is insert the players' names in
Yeah,
these,
they do.
and boom. I mean,
Yeah,
Sleeper could be the next bigger thing than Fantrax. I mean, I don't mind Fantrax, but if Sleeper can
yeah,
just, hey, Sleeper,
it could.
if you're listening, get the college football on your freaking app right now. I mean, just think of the amount of college guys out there that would
They
flood the app right now.
absolutely, hell yeah, dude. We were saying this a couple weeks ago, last time we streamed, about how college, like Pandora's box is open. Okay, with NIL, these guys are getting paid now. These guys are these top end guys are making seven figures. So let's not pretend. Oh, I couldn't do that. It's against the college. Get out of here with that nonsense, man. Let's get that hooked up. Yeah, Sleeper. We're a small show and amongst many others on YouTube, but if they're paying attention to us, get college football play. College football is the number 2 sport in this country. Okay, it is a disgrace that they don't have a bigger presence on Sleeper, and it's not user friendly. Where we should be talking, like we're gonna talk about Micheal Penix later as a spotlight guy. We should be talking about, for next year, hey, dynasty college football. Hey, the backup quarterback in Washington is a red shirt freshman or something. Like he, is Kalen DeBoer, the head coach, is he going to be leaving, possibly for a bigger Ohio State if Ryan Day gets fired, for example? Like we should be talking about that stuff, and it creates more I don't know, more content and just a better playing platform, because these players are, I would argue that these college football players are more, a lot of them are more famous than any NBA player, than other than LeBron and Steph Curry, guys like that, maybe Luka, but I would argue they're more famous than any baseball player. Maybe Otani is up there, but I mean, these guys, it's just a joke.
Yeah, it is, and far. I mean, I love college. I mean, I love college football. I watch it religiously on Saturdays as much as I can. And if you're not into fantasy, college fantasy, that gives you an up on pretty much everybody else that are just rookies into this stuff, because it only broadens your mind a lot more. And talking names, getting names tossed around, you're like, oh, I heard about so and so talking about this guy or this guy. And that's why we're kind of trying to bring up a lot of these. That's why we did some of the college prospects. To bring these names to attention for these guys that are kind of new to the game. So they kind of get that like that name recognition already. Before the NFL draft kind of stuff. Before the season comes around, and that's like kind of our whole goal too as well. And yeah, I just wanted to relay on here, on Jason's. Yeah, I didn't mind Dynasty last year, kind of fun, but I think
Yeah.
the best thing is that I'm looking forward to is the off-season trading. Yeah, and that's the other cool thing about Dynasty too. I mean, you don't
Yeah.
have to wait until the next year comes around and try to make trades and stuff like that. That's the nice thing about Dynasty is where you can go and make trades and up your ante on your in your rookie drafts, move around in your Dynasty drafts and stuff like that to get the player you want for your next Dynasty team or whatever. So I mean those are the nice aspects about that too as well. Um, we should talk about some games here quick too as well. Get in some highlighted players. I know we kind of mentioned the Packers Vikings game there. Love went off. Love had a pretty decent game there. The wide receivers in this one, you'll be talking about a guy in your, a riser for you as well here. But Jaden Reed looked damn good. I mean, he had 26 fantasy points there. I mean, for him being a rookie, he not a bad option in this, Packers offense. Dobbs wasn't even there. Didn't even show up. I think he might have got injured, I think, in that game. But it seemed like the Vikings really didn't do anything. Jaron Hall went out, Bones came in, and I was kind of watching it. I'm just like, man, this is sad. What a sad game.
Yeah. I was gonna say Jaden Reed went off before he got hurt. Just explain. To me, I was telling my brother this, like he's their number one receiver. No question. I mean, Jaden Reed has emerged as the number one guy because Christian Watson you can't trust. Romeo Dobbs is spotty. Bo Melton's kind of emerged out of the practice squad the last couple weeks, but I mean, Bo Melton was 7th round. Nobody. Wicks. Ooh. Oh, that's sick. Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, since we're talking about Romeo Dobbs,
I need some of these cards you got.
Yeah.
I know, right? It's sweet. It's a sweet looking. Wicks, he's solid, but I just think of all the receivers, Jaden Reed is the guy. Once Musgrave comes back, him and Kraft are nice 1-2. So going into next year with fantasy, Jordan Love should have a lot more. No pun intended. He should have a lot more love. He should be in redraft leagues. He should be going higher. And if you got access to him in Dynasty, if somebody's going to throw him out there for some bait, that's a guy that I would bet on for the next 5 years. And I know people had their thoughts about him earlier, mid-season or whatever. These Packers receivers, I mean, there's plenty of them. Tight ends, the running backs, they'll get that fixed. I mean, they'll probably let go of Aaron Jones or Dillon or maybe both, and kind of restock. Maybe go get Braylon Allen, like we mentioned, from Wisconsin. Somebody like that to come in and fill the role. So, or Blake Corum from Michigan.
Yeah.
He'd be another nice fit in Green Bay. Maybe a second round pick on him.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and Minnesota trash. They're gonna roll Jaron Hall out again this weekend against with the Lions, and that's another backup game. I think Teddy Bridgewater's playing. Yeah, that's another game. That's why the NFL is great, because if this was the NBA and they had second string guy, they had the 7th, 8th, 9th guy on the bench out there playing heavy minutes. Just two bad teams going at it. You just be like, But with the NFL, with gambling, with parlays and some of the stuff, so DFS stuff, it makes it good. You'll be watching. Even if it's Teddy Bridgewater against Jaron Hall, you'll be watching. I don't know. Maybe the Vikes can. Hey, for one game, maybe they can re-sign Dalvin Cook. Jets cut him, so maybe they can get Dalvin Cook back for a game and for old time's sake. Nick is Nick Mullins starting?
He does.
Oh, sorry. Jason, they're all interchangeable to me, man. They could have went with Josh Dobbs. They could have went with Mullins. They could have went with me at quarterback. Carson, enough about that game. This Vikings right now are trapped. That offense.
We'll just do a couple of quick hitters here on some of these other quick, just a couple just punchlines, and then we'll get into our highlighted players here. Good finish at Cowboys Lions. 2019, the Lions should have actually just went my quick opinion on it. The Lions should have just kicked the field goal, went into overtime. That would have settled everything. Your thoughts, real quick.
Yeah.
And then the Texans.
Yeah, dumb. I was watching that game. I was like, I was watching that game in my I was watching in my hotel room, man. I was like, what the hell are they doing? They got the penalty, backed them up. They're at 7-yard line. It's like you kick the extra point at that. I think they got another 5-yard penalty. I think Dallas jumped and they got back
Yep.
to the 2. But
Yep.
still, it's like you're pushing your luck. And then that was a terrible pass by Goff there at the end. I thought they were evenly, just throughout the game though. I thought they were evenly matched. I thought had it been in Detroit, a home game for the Lions, it might have been a 1-point win for the Lions. And, it was in Dallas. It was a 1-point win for Dallas. I think if they met again in the playoffs, it'd be a similar game. I think Dallas should be the 2 seed, Lions should be the 3. So it would be, in Dallas again. But I wouldn't mind seeing that in like the divisional playoff.
Yeah,
if it was like the 49ers and Rams in the divisional round and then Lions, Cowboys or something, I think those would be 2 good matchups. But Goff shit the bed again in a big game, and that's what worries me.
Yeah, for sure. Texans, Titans. Stroud had a pretty good game, 14 points, 213 yards, and a touchdown in there. Singletary was all right in that game. His favorite, Nico Collins was his favorite target. Woods, Hutchinson, and Mechie were all non. That game was all kind of a trashy game, but I mean, other than that, the Texans won that one. So Stroud is up on is a riser. So. But the Browns Jets game was pretty good. Flacco had a great game without Cooper. Ford went off. Elijah Moore had a nice touchdown in there. And then we had Breece Hall, who actually we'll be talking about him here shortly. He had a pretty good day with 27 some odd fantasy points with that game. So I'm sure some of those players helped you win your fantasy championships. Was there any other games that you wanted to jump on here quick with, or that you liked?
I'll do these 2 games here real quick. Texans, Stroud, he looked healthy, which is good. It's a good sign for them. I think they're going to beat the Colts this weekend and get into the playoffs. Be great to see CJ in there. He's been tearing it up all year. Singletary is their feature back now. Damian Pierce is gonna, he's another James Robinson to me. Just like flash in the pan. Like Damian, I can't believe he was the leading rusher in the middle. In the middle of like week 10 last year, I think week 9 or week 10, he was the leading rusher in the NFL. Year and a half later, this guy might be on a practice squad next year. You know what I mean, or further down on the running back depth chart with the Texans. Just crazy. But I mean, Nico Collins. If the fantasy season were to continue, I think he's going to have a big weekend. I might talk about him in the pick 6 here at the end. Nico looked great. Schultz looked great. Titans are junk. I don't know what to. I mean, Will Levis. So he'll probably get another year because of the. They picked him high, and I wouldn't go back to Ryan Tannehill or Malik Willis or any of those clowns. But D-Hop, I don't know if he's going to come back. Derrick Henry's probably gone. They're probably going to gut this team. And let's just be honest. The Titans are going to be bad the next couple of years. You're going to see a lot more 26-3 Titan losses going forward. And then the Browns and Jets. Man, oh man, Flacco, my man. He did this. He did this the right week though, Jay, because I think the Browns got like 4 guys that are questionable for week 18. Yeah. Flacco's out. Jeff Driscoll's playing. So it's this was if you had these guys in your pick 6 or your fantasy your championship or your third place game or consolation whatever. Mari Cooper just resurgence. I wouldn't let. I know they're going to be restricted with their money going forward, but you got to find a way to keep him. I mean, Amari still got it. Elijah Moore has really emerged. Especially when that Peoples Jones was traded away, and I was skeptical about Elijah being a number 2 receiver, but I mean he's been good. He's been their number 3 option, and he's played a hell of a lot better than he did with the Jets. I'll tell you that. So and then obviously David Njoku, beast. Jets, yeah, just trash. Trash. More trash. I need some more paper. I need some more paper so I can. Here we go. Here we go. Here's some paper. Here we go. That's what I think of the Jets. That's what I think of Trevor Siemian. Here we go. Trevor Siemian. Breece looked great. And I don't blame any of this on Breece, man. Dalvin. Yeah. Give me 2 thumbs down on Trevor Siemian. I don't put any of this on Garrett Wilson. I don't put any of this on Breece Hall. This is all coaching and shitty quarterback play and a defense that's not as good as advertised. So and Dalvin Cook was a casualty, but hell, he might get himself a Super Bowl. We were just talking about Dalvin Cook a second ago. He might sign with the Ravens or better, your Cowboys. I'd love him in Dallas. Imagine him, Pollard, and Rico as like a triple header. Hell yeah. Sign me up.
I had just tweeted that on our Twitter feed. I think him actually coming to Dallas will help out Dallas quite a bit. Just it'll help our backfield because he's actually, I mean, he's a bigger guy. I mean, it'll help us actually get the goal line. Hopefully he passes waivers so we can snag him because I mean we need something. I mean, Tony Pollard isn't the thing. I mean, he hasn't done anything all year long. I have him in Dynasty and I'm actually going to punt his ass. I'm going to see if anybody wants him because I'm out. I'm done. So I'm just out on Pollard for next year. Wherever he lands, I'm just done. I'll pick somebody up in the draft or something. Who knows? But yeah, I'm just done. But this will help our backfield out.
No, this is a good debate here because I really don't want to talk about the Broncos and Chargers because that was trash. That was trash city. The population, Sean Payton. We'll talk about Austin Eckler quick because I think it's a good comp. Okay, would you rather? And you guys could comment too. 2024, whether it's dynasty or redraft, would you rather have Tony Pollard going forward or Austin Eckler? I think that's a good debate because Pollard's younger, obviously, but Pollard has proven that, like Eric was saying there, he's a number 2 back. Yeah, he's a complimentary guy. He's a little bit better than like a Khalil Herbert. Nice complimentary back. If he he's not a featured guy. There's only I'm glad they didn't pay him a ton of money. I'm glad they didn't pay Pollard, $12 million or anything crazy like the $15 million, anything crazy. I mean, they gave him a reasonable contract. Just Eckler or Pollard going forward. And you can answer too, Jay.
Yeah, I'm quite honestly, I'm out on both. I actually had the opportunity to actually draft Eckler this year in midst of actually hopefully him being as good as CMC. And yeah, I'm actually out. I'm just out. Even if he does go to a new team, I'm more likely out. I mean, I hope him great wherever he lands, but as far as fantasy, no, I'm not drafting him. I mean, I'll draft CMC over him all day long if I have the first round pick or whatever. I mean, I'll draft him way before I even think about Eckler. I mean, Pollard, I mean, he's a good backup. I mean, that's it. I mean, he's a number 2. I mean, it showed that he wasn't even. I mean, he had some good games. Don't get me wrong. I mean, but he's pretty much like he's one of those guys that actually helps you like in the mid if you're like in the 20s or 30s. He's that good open field, running back that's kind of in between the 30s and 40s. So I mean, he's the guy that can spread that field that way. But when it gets to the goal line, I mean, it's not him. It's not. I mean, he's kind of a comparable to our favorite guy. With the Ravens. I can't think of his name now. Our favorite guy. I just lost wind of him. Mitchell. He's kind of like a Mitchell. I mean, he's
Melvin Gordon.
No, not Melvin Gordon.
You think,
no, Mitchell.
You think, I was just saying.
I'm thinking about Mitchell. I mean, Tony Pollard is kind of like a Mitchell. I mean, he's good in those open spaces, but the goal line stuff, no, he's kind of like one of them. He's kind of shifty. He can catch a few balls here and there, but I mean that's Tony Pollard in a stump. But yeah, I'm out on both of those guys.
That's cold. Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
I'll get into
cold.
I'll get into another game quick, and if you have one more, Jay, we can wrap this. Get into one more game.
Yeah.
Jay probably get into one more as well if he chooses. Pittsburgh. I would know what. I think. I don't think they're going to. What I do think, I don't think they're going to get into the playoffs. I think there's just too many variables. They look good. Their offense actually looked good for a change, and Seattle's a decent team. So, and they're not going to the playoffs either. So, Mason Rudolph, dude. I mean, it's probably a one-off thing. I don't know if he's going to be as good, this weekend. I think they're going to win again, and I think they'll be 10-7 and miss the playoffs. But going forward, I think Pickett's got to go. Pickett is not the guy. This just proved it. Mitch Trubisky, they're wasting money. I think he's making like $8 million a year or something crazy. I mean, you can get a way better backup for $8 million a year. You know what I mean? You can't be paying Mitch Trubisky that much. I'd clean house at quarterback. If Mason Rudolph wants to stay the backup, if he just wants to be a career backup there, and I think he's improved a lot. So just from what I saw this past weekend, so I just thought I'd point that out. It's about time. How hard is that to go to George Pickens? He's another guy like our favorite guy, Garrett Wilson. It's just why are you not targeting George Pickens 12 times a game? Why?
Yeah.
No excuse not to.
Yeah.
Not Najee and Jalen Warren, separated. They're not as good. If they were on different teams and, Najee was in Seattle or Jalen Warren was in Denver, they wouldn't be as good. But together as a combo, they're a damn good 1-2 tandem. And, I just like what I saw with Pittsburgh. Like I said, Seattle's done. I think they probably draft a quarterback. Tyler Lockett, he's going to be a guy in the free agency you should be looking out for. I don't think he's going to be back with Seattle. I think he might sign with Kansas City or Green Bay, some Midwest team that should want a veteran receiver. I think that's what happens with Seattle. I think JSN becomes their number 2, and JSN's value is just going to keep shooting up. And that's what I see from that game.
Yeah, it should. I mean, you were talking about Pickens. Pickens is kind of like the Terry McLaurin, where he's not getting the ball. I mean, if you think about it, we had Brisket come in, and he pretty much just was tossing him the ball. So I mean, that's same situation there. I mean, McLaurin wasn't getting the touches. I mean, he was their number 1 guy. He should have been actually getting the Howell should be tossing him first read. If not, then go to Dotson or the running backs or whatever. I mean, McLaurin's there for a freaking reason. Use him. I mean, it shows he's got the fucking talent. But hey, just lack of experience, and that's that's what it comes down to. I think this was a learning experience for Hal. We don't know what Washington is actually going to do in this offseason. I mean, who knows? They could get a new quarterback. Who knows? I mean, they got their 2nd round pick, or whatever the hell it is. I don't remember, but they're up there. So, I mean, they can actually get somebody.
I got 2 words for the Commanders, soon to be Redskins again. Jaden Daniels. That's what they either need to trade down if you can get him a little lower, or stay where you're at. Take him at number 2 or number 3, whatever you end up at. I'd take Jaden Daniels because I think Caleb's going at 1. Drake May will probably go to the Patriots. If that's kind of how the top 3 or 4 picks go. Washington is going quarterback. You have to. Sam Howell is a really good backup. He'll probably, the way it goes, Jay, he'll probably get another starting opportunity 5 years from now. He'll be, there'll be injuries and, Sam Howell had to start 15 games for the Raiders or something. I mean, he's one of those kind of guys, like he'll be around the league for a while. He's good enough to be, but he's not like a successful long-term starter. Not at all.
Yeah, it's hard saying. I just want to get a quick opinions on. I mean, I'm just going to mention a couple games here. The Cardinals beat the Eagles, which was kind of nice. Connor came out, 128 yards and a touchdown, receiving touchdown. So that was nice. Nice stake to the Eagles. Given the Cowboys the division now. So I was kind of happy about that. Wilson looked pretty good in this game. 35 yards, a touchdown. So I'm pretty happy about that. And then the other one I want to mention here real quick is where the heck did it go now? I just wanted to mention the Buccaneers against the Saints. Even though the Buccaneers lost, Baker looked pretty damn good. 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. Godwin had a pretty good game, 81 yards with a touchdown, and our favorite guy. I mean, I was kind of happy about this, seeing Trey Palmer actually getting 5 targets, 4 receptions, 84 yards, and he got a touchdown. So I mean, for me, this is kind of and I'll talk about him more too this offseason. So my eyes, Trey Palmer is a riser for me. For next year, because this was just a good outlook. This game just kind of helped me kind of.
I love. Excuse me. I love the fact that Trey Palmer, his value is going to stay like a 15 catch game against the Panthers or something. Like his value is going to stay low, but you got to remember they're getting rid of Bucks can't afford both these guys. They're not, and maybe Mike Evans would do a team friendly deal, but one of those two is gone, Godwin or Mike Evans or both. So Trey Palmer, his value is going to shoot up. He will be probably at least the number 2 receiver going into next year, I believe. So his value is right now it's low, but it's going to start shooting up. Okay, it just if you can get your hands on him, you probably get him in a trade this offseason if you do dynasty and get him pretty cheap. Or next year in a redraft league, you can probably get him in the lower rounds because people are going to be sleeping on him. So I like it. I like that he's not blowing up yet because I think he's going to blow up next year.
Yeah,
so you can get him for a cheaper price.
You're definitely not going to be getting Trey Palmer off my hands. You're going to have to pick and pry to get him off my team.
No, off your dead Rick and Morty's hands.
Yep.
Over my dead body.
So I think that kind of recaps some of the, we can recap most of the games here, and so we're gonna transition into our other segments, our Goldstar players, the risers, and my couple highlighted players. So we're gonna jump in over to that real quick. But yeah, and then we'll get into Eli's DFS stuff, and then we will get into our college spotlight at the end here after the DFS, or we can do the spotlight and then DFS, whichever, I guess. Well, we'll see what happens here. But first up, my favorite guy, like always, I just
Breece.
Breece Hall. It's his 3rd time being in my highlighted players for the week, and it's just one of those things that I'm just fond of this guy. I mean, if you think about what he did last year, he was actually leading the pack last year as a rookie before he ended up getting injured, so he came out guns blazing this year. I was pretty happy about his way he actually started the year. The first game, I was just like, I was in awe. I was already doing the little giddy dance because his breakout week 1. I was just like, hell to the yeah. So I mean, it was a lost year for him, right? So it was a lost year for him as a rookie last year. For a rookie last year, before he tore his ACL, but he did lead the running backs before he tore his ACL last year. At least a couple weeks before anybody could even catch up with him. I was kind of disappointed in that, but the turnaround in this matter of fact is that he's actually number 2 in fantasy points, right behind CMC. He had 334 points. So I'm happy. I'm happy about that outlook there. He's actually 21st in yardage. I mean, I think he had like 800 some odd, rushing yards this season. But I mean, it was expected the way the Jets were. But I mean, if you think about it, I mean, 21st. I mean, Chuba Hubbard at 20th, Kenneth Walker at 19, 18 at Devin Singletary. So I just think that I mean, Breece Hall. I mean, I think he probably if the Jets had a better offense, he would have surpassed already Chuba Hubbard and Singletary. I mean, he's way better than both those guys for sure. Kenneth Walker kind of evenly matched in that aspect. But here's the crazy thing about these dual threat running backs. Eckler is usually up there in this category. Not this year. Breece Hall, unfortunately, was actually the number one receiving running back this year. He actually beat CMC just by a few yards, But I mean, CMC had more touchdowns in that aspect. But receiving wise, um, no, yeah, receiving yard wise, he was actually first. CMC second, Rashad White third, and Kamara at number 4. So I mean, that's a nice category to be in. Rashad White was kind of unexpected there, but I mean, other than that, I just think overall a good year for him so far.
Well, yeah, and had check down Charlie, aka Zach Wilson, throwing him a lot of those passes, and now Trevor Siemian and whoever the hell else they played at quarterback. It's gonna be a lot better. Stay patient. If you have shares of Breece, stay patient. Aaron Rodgers will be back next year. Aaron Rodgers isn't. This isn't the 2011, 2015 Aaron Rodgers. He's an old man now, but he's still he's going to put Breece in a lot better spots. They're going to fix the offensive line or try to, this offseason. Like it's going to be so they're going to make a lot of changes on that offense for the Jets next year. So hold on to Breece, because his stock right now is a little lower because people viewed him as being an all-pro, which he is. Given the right offensive line, certain circumstances, he should be right there with CMC. He really should. He should be a top 3 or 4 fantasy running back, because he's got that skill set to do it. And I'm glad that he was number 1 in receiving or for receiving running backs. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and then
I mean, in because his standard's so high, we looked at it like like it was like a lesser season, but I mean the stats were still pretty good given the whole scope of everything. And he successfully came back from that injury last year, which was the biggest thing is that he's going to have hopefully a long prosperous career and not be a one and done or a Saquon where he gets hurt every other year.
Yeah. To finish up that, he was number 26 in rushing touchdowns with 4. So I mean, in that category, I mean, you can tell just because the Jets offense was just total garbage. But he actually finished 3rd in receiving in the running back categories with 4. CMC had 7. Jerome Ford actually had 5. And then 4th came in with James Cook at 4. So I mean, you can kind of see where he kind of fell in some of these categories, and I will be talking more about him. We'll probably talk more about him in the off season, but this is just a general outlook on Breece Hall for this year. Just to kind of wrap up our season, just the 2023 season. Breece Hall coming back from the injury, I was happy about that. I mean, I was hoping that he recovered fairly well, and it showed, with him actually being, the second in fantasy points for the season, and just kind of the way his, fantasy outlook was this year, I was happy with, so I mean, I was content with his production this year. But yeah, I think that kind of, and then, just his week 17, 36 points, 71, he was on 71% of snaps, 13 attempts with 84 yards there, 9 targets, 9 receptions, 1 touchdown in there. So, I mean, he helped most of us kind of get some championships as well. But yeah, if there got anything else on Breece Hall before I get to my next guy?
Nope, not a thing.
All right. On to our next guy. Isaiah Likely. It's funny that a lot of us are not talking about more tight ends lately, but Isaiah Likely hopefully maybe helped you guys actually get a championship too as well, because I mean, this guy, after Andrews was hurt, he was a waiver wire gem. Most of us didn't have him. If you're lucky to actually stash him got him off the waiver wire, you're probably like, yeah, so you're very, very, very happy about that. The last month and the last month here, like 3 out of the 4 games, he hit double digit, fantasy points, 22 at the Rams, 18 at the Jags. I mean, 8 at the Niners. I mean, that was a given. 18 points at the Dolphins here. This last weekend. Um, he had 2 touchdowns against the Dolphins. I mean, so if yeah, you guys got to think about it. When Andrews isn't there, Andrew, likely is, like another Andrews. I mean, he's just there. He's ready to, get the, take the ball from Jackson. I mean, he can get upfield as just as capable as Andrews. So I mean, you know, I didn't really had a debate. I mentioned likely to someone on a different stream, like, well, what about likely? And he didn't think that was a capable start or a guy to snag up, or have in your lineups. And I was totally opposite. My opinion was, hey, get likely into your lineups because he's going to rock and roll. He's going to get touchdowns no matter, he's a touchdown machine. Anytime he gets the ball, he's going to see a touchdown no matter what. So I mean, he had 4 touchdowns in this last month. So I mean, he's a waiver wire gem in my eyes. I mean, I'm surely he helped some people get some championships. But any opinions on Isaiah Likely?
Yeah, and Jay, I would hold on to him going into, not in a keeper, obviously. I mean, he's not going to be one of your 3 best teams, but in a dynasty going forward, I could see them trading Mark Andrews if they need the cap space, and because he's almost just as good. I mean, that's saying a lot. I mean, this guy, he was a stud at Coastal Carolina. He's been, given the spot starts he's had in the NFL so far the last couple of years, he's been a stud. I would, if you need. I mean, you could roll with 2 really good tight ends. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that either. I mean, he roll with those 2, and then Zay Flowers, and then maybe re-sign OBJ to another 1-year deal or something if he wants to, keep playing football. But yeah, I would consider, moving off Mark Andrews because there might be a market for him. So
yeah, they're probably.
But yeah, I likely, how efficient is that, man? 2 receptions, 2 touchdowns on 3 targets. Doesn't get any better than that. Didn't waste any movement.
No. I mean, he's been a top 5. Well, it should have been top 5, but yeah, he's been a top 5 tight end 3 of the 4 last week.
Yeah.
So I mean, it just shows. I mean, as much as we, are the tight ends is kind of like a desert out there. I mean, you're picking and choosing any chance you can get a tight end that can get you at least, 8 to 10 points at least. And every so often there's a one like likely that will get you double digits. So I mean, he had 18 points this last weekend.
Well, there was 2 major ones this year. If you think about it, Trey McBride, a lot of leagues, he was he was a waiver wire wonder, and Isaiah Likely, and who have been 2, Jay, who have been 2 of the top 5 tight ends probably the last 4 or 5 games. It's been Isaiah, 2 of the 5. I mean, it's been obviously Sam Laporta, but he's Sam Laporta.
Yeah.
It's been Likely and McBride, and those are waiver wire guys. So yeah, I don't ever just get overly crushed about anything, because they're in modern NFL. I mean, you can get yourself a quarterback, you can get yourself a tight end. Injuries happen, or if you make a mistake on a draft pick. I mean, we all do it. You screw up a pick, like, oh, this guy suck, like Austin Eckler, he sucked now. Well, you can offset that by getting a Isaiah Likely, off the waivers in the middle of.
Yep, more than likely. Hey, yeah, do you like that? More than likely.
I love it.
All right, yeah, that wraps up my 2 highlighted players. So, and we'll kind of transition over to Eli's 2 Gold Star players and his risers. So, take it away, buddy.
Come hither, come hither. What we got here? Coughing up that bullshit. Gold Stars, like, they're going out of style, man. This is the last, week of the regular season. Who knows? Maybe if we need to, fill a segment in the playoffs, I'll give out a Gold Star for the wild card round or something. I don't know. Who knows? But at least for probably the regular season, at least the fantasy football year, last Gold Stars, handing them out. So here's one for Najee Harris. And I've ripped on this guy. I've ripped on this guy. I thought, his rookie year, everybody loved him. 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns, Pro Bowl. Like, Najee's going to be the next Alabama. What? He's going to be the next Derrick Henry. The next great Alabama back. What Gibbs is now, just like that next Alabama guy to hit. And he's had. I mean, for all the the knocks on Najee, I mean, he's 77 yards from another 1,000-yard season. I mean, he's had this would be his third 1,000-yard year in 3 years. So he's not that bad. He's not as bad as we made him out to be. It's just Pittsburgh was struggling for a while, and Jaylen Warren was kind of taking over the lead role. It was, maybe there was a wake up call for Najee. Last few weeks he's been playing like gangbusters. Past Sunday, big game against Seattle, 27 carries, 122 yards, 2 tutties. Like I said, for the season, about 77 yards short. He could easily get that. If he's and Pittsburgh needs to win the game, so he will play. They're not going to rest the running backs or receivers. So Pickett is going to get his. Najee's going to get his. 7 touchdowns. If he could add another one, let's say he gets 100 yards and a touchdown. I mean, 1,025 yards and 8 touchdowns. That's a good season. For a running back these days, where a lot of them struggle to stay healthy, that's a pretty damn good season. Not like a All-Pro, Pro Bowl level season, but that's a really good season. And any thoughts on Najee?
Yeah, I mean, he's been kind of up and down, but I mean, other than that, I mean, if you had him, I mean, you're happy with what he did. I mean, 7 touchdowns is not bad at all. I mean, I think that was that receive. Oh, season total. Is that season total, or was that just his average? Or the other one is 2. Which one's which?
See, that's the season total.
Okay, 7. Yeah, so 7.
The one on the right's the season, and then the one on the left is.
Oh, gotcha. So 7 touchdowns out of Najee is not bad, and if you can get another couple, 70 some odd yards or however many more he needs. Yeah, I mean, for him being 1,000-yard back, I mean, that's not bad at all. As bad as the Steelers' identity is. I mean, Najee has been grounding and pounding it. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, for him getting almost close to 10 touchdowns isn't bad production out of, a guy who's kind of hits and misses every once in a while. I mean, he had like 20, I think he had 20 some odd points this weekend. I don't remember exactly. 24, yeah, 122 yards. So, I mean, Najee is capable of having, these 100-yard games when he wants to. I mean, he's done it. I think this was actually his first 2-game touchdown rushing, which was crazy. I don't think he'd done it at all the year before either. Let me take a gander.
This was definitely the first 2-touchdown game of the season, but it's also his first 100-yard game of the season. So I mean, maybe I'm being a little ambitious, and Najee's hot right now. He's gonna, but I think he can get at least 77 yards. He can get to that 1,000 mark. I think that's totally doable. Better late than never, because he's in trouble. I don't think he's gonna get a second. He was on pace to not get a second contract, especially from Pittsburgh. And I think you're gonna have to consider it, or maybe earn himself a franchise tag. After next year, I think 2025 is when you'd have to make a move on him. So Najee's kind of increasing his stock, and then fantasy wise, hold on to Najee. Just him and Warren, because the Pittsburgh's gonna get. I mean, they always do. They'll get this right. I just think Pickett's the guy I would get rid of, because I think he's trash. I think this year has proven that. I don't care, hurt or not, he's trash. And he didn't do George Pickens any favors. He didn't do Najee Harris any favors. So Freiermuth, any of those guys. So, any more thoughts before I move on?
No, I mean, he's capable. Like last year, he had a couple touchdowns, 2-game touchdown up in there. Just one other 100-yard game in there. I mean, so he's capable of having a couple 100-yard games, but nothing that's eye-popping. I mean, his total average is between maybe 60 to 80 yards, in a game. Every once in a while, if he's playing a bad defense, he might get 100 some odd yards and maybe a couple touchdowns. But I mean, that's kind of his average. He's not, a burst out kind of, here I am, so. But yeah, that's my
It's,
thoughts.
and the Browns got a really good defense, obviously, but I think they're going to be resting some people. So that's why I'm a little optimistic that if you did go with Najee and like a DFS lineup or something, I think he'd be okay. Let's see. Khalil Herbert. My main guy. He's another guy. This is the pay rate. This is kind of where Tony Pollard should have fallen into. Although I think he's a better all around player than Khalil Herbert. But this is where he should have fallen into a nice complimentary back that on occasion can get you 100 yards or get you a decent fantasy day. But this past Sunday, 18 carries, 124 yards, touchdown. The whole season, and he was hurt a few games too. I think it's just kind of been a rotating thing in Chicago. Roschon's kind of been the pass catching back, and he was out for a little bit, and then Foreman's been out for a ton of the season. Khalil Herbert's been in and out, but and they all have about the same amount of yards, from scrimmage, whether it's more receiving like Roschon or more running. Like Herbert. I think going forward they need I think they'd do well with like a Blake Corum, like a second round pick with the Bears, a running back, like just a feature guy. That's what they need. They need 1,000 yards. I think the Bears would love a Najee Harris. Just a solid, nothing, it doesn't need to be great, but just a solid feature 1,000-yard running back. You don't need to be CMC. You don't need to be one of these Austin Eckler before he sucked. You don't need to be one of those guys. I think the Bears would be fine with something like that. But Herbert's another solid year. I thought I'd give him some love because he's the perfect. Your running back is hurt that week, fill-in guy. He's the perfect fill-in guy. He can't be a 15 to 17 game guy, like a feature guy. But if you need, your feature guy gets hurt, and you need 3 or 4 starts and then some complimentary work, this is the perfect guy for that. Any thoughts on Khalil Herbert?
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much is your complimentary back. I mean, if somebody's hurt, he can come in, he can kind of splash and dash a little bit. And I mean, this year he's only had a couple touchdowns this year. I mean, this last couple weeks, but I mean, playing some bad defenses and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, that's going to be the cause of that there. I mean, just looking at his 2022, I mean, he's kind of the same way. He's kind of misses games. He's kind of here, kind of not there. I mean, he had 4 touchdowns last year, 2 the year before. So, I mean, he's kind of here and there. I mean, he hasn't really fulfilled. He's always kind of injured. So, I mean, he's missing a lot. He's not really getting a lot of work in. So, I mean, he's a good change of pace running back. I mean, I can see it. I mean, if you need somebody, why not take a risk and see what happens? I mean, he's capable of putting up, 150 odd yards and a touchdown if it all comes down to it. So he's kind of that one of those one hit wonders talents kind of for the league.
I don't think he's going to drop off because I don't think he's lost a lot of tread on his tires. So I think if you have him in dynasty, keep him on the bench. You'll need him in spot starts probably even next year, even if they take a Blake Corum or the Henderson kid from Ohio State. Some feature level guy, Bucky Irving maybe from Oregon, some guy like that. But yeah, I just hold on to Khalil. I wouldn't ever drop him. Redraft league, obviously it's different. I don't know if he's going to be drafted next year or not, but definitely in dynasty.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Move on to I'll do a riser quick, Jay, and then we'll take a break or do DFS. But I'll get the riser in here. I mentioned him earlier when we kind of went over the Packers Vikings game. Bo Milton. This guy's come out of nowhere. I mean, first 14 weeks of the season was on the practice squad. And these Packer receivers, man, they're coming out of the abyss. They're just walking up through the swamp like it's one after another, like zombies. I don't know how many. That's a good question. I wish Donovan was listening to the stream. Donovan, how many Packers receivers do they have stashed on the practice squad? Is what I want to know. Is there 2 more that we don't know about that are going to come up? And I mean, these guys. I mean, you got Wicks and now Bo Milton, Dobbs, Watson, Jaden Reed, the 2 young tight ends. There's probably another receiver I'm missing. Yeah, they're coming out of the abyss. last 3 weeks, 11 grabs on 17 targets, got 156 yards, touchdown. So, last 3 weeks, the weeks he's actually played, he's averaging about 52 yards a game. So, which is solid. I mean, it not starting level, in a, if you, obviously, I hope you're not starting Bo Milton in your playoff matchup unless it was like a 20-man league or you were desperate or something. But going forward in Dynasty, he's worth kicking the tires on. I would assume he's on the waiver right now. I assume I haven't checked Dynasty. I mean, I haven't been up on it as much as, since the season ended, Sunday, but, or Monday. I would assume that he's one of the top 5 sleeper guys to grab, going for your Dynasty team going forward, of like guys you can, bid on. So, go over there. And if you're on sleeper, if you're in Dynasty over there, redraft league. He's somebody to consider for next year amongst 5 or 6 other Green Bay receivers. But the fact that he had a 6-catch, 105-yard game and a tutty, I mean, that they don't just hand out 100-yard games in the NFL. So I mean, the guy's got a little bit of talent. He's a seventh round pick out of Rutgers a couple years ago by Seattle. Seattle let him go. Green Bay, I think, signed him. Green Bay cut him too. He didn't even make their 53-man roster. Ended up on the practice squad. And now he's booming. Say, Keith, I don't know who's the better, practice. Probably the best practice squad pickup of the year, either Joe Flacco or Keaton Mitchell. But just how people ascended. But I mean, Bo Milton not far behind. And I looked at his stats at Rutgers. He didn't do anything special. He's not a guy we would have, if we had been doing our spotlight segment a couple years ago. If we had the show, like he wouldn't have been a guy that wouldn't have been on our radar. He was like a 600-something yard receiver for a couple years at Rutgers during the pandemic year, and then 2021. So not a guy that was really popping. But I just thought I'd give a little background on him. So if you do, if he does move up the depth chart, if Watson, he just becomes a problem and they trade him or something, they Chase Claypool him, ship his ass out. If Dobbs is banged up and they need younger receivers in there, Bo Milton might be a guy to consider. Any thoughts on Bo?
Yeah, just, I mean, especially if you're in a deeper league, I mean, he might be like a 16-man, league. That's where he probably would be useful. These smaller 10, 12, more likely not. He'd just be a waiver wire guy, no more than likely. Dynasty, it's probably, I mean, he's probably not a bad guy to have on your bench, just in case if Dobbs is out or Christian is not going. So I mean, he's kind of one of those guys you could probably put in a dynasty lineup if you really needed to. If it all depends if he sticks around too. But I mean, yeah, this is a nice little show, nice little look for people to look at, to put on tape. I'm like, oh, hey, look what this guy can do. So I mean, the more tape you can get out there and actually look decent, so it'll just help your stock in general. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on Bo Milton. I never heard of him, and yeah, he had a pretty good game. Love had a pretty good game, but I think we'll probably talk about more of these guys. We'll talk about more of these guys here, like in the off season. Especially when we get to our divisional previews. Yeah. We'll talk more about these Packers offense.
Oh yeah, and that's the whole point of the segment. Yeah, no, definitely, because they got a lot of guys like this that are on his level, and that's good that you say it about tape, because like if some, if they want to send him back to the practice squad or trade him or something, I mean, now he's an asset. Like, hey, this guy had a 100-yard game in a must-win playoff level atmosphere, so it's like, hey, this guy can get the job done. So yeah, but that's why we do this segment. Not Jay watches college football religiously. I watch. We do how many leagues, dynasty, all these different, and we didn't know who the hell Bo Milton was. So obviously you probably didn't know who the hell Bo Milton was. No. So that's why we do this segment, to just get these guys, get their backgrounds out there. So, if he does pop in the future, if Bo Milton is the starting receiver for the Green Bay Packers in 2025, then you're like, oh, I have this, I know this guy's background. This guy's great, or whatever. He came from nowhere. So
yeah, for sure.
Good story.
Yeah, for sure. You can jump into your DFS stuff, and then we'll get into the college spotlight.
Yeah, you bet. All right, so Kind of changed it up from what I used to do. So DraftKings has got 2 new options in their section. So you can do super flex or pick six, and pick six is basically parlays, and then super flex is just it basically you have an option of the classic 9-man, or there's a couple different size where you pick them. So this will be 8-man, and it'll be super flex. And so I went up with my amount. So we're still doing we're still shopping for bargains. I feel like Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys. I got my cart here. So we're still hunting for bargains here. I raised it to 6,200. So because there's 50 divided by 8 is about 6,200. So we're going to keep all the players under 6,200 and find you some deals. Now there's a ton of players that are going to be out this week because of even minor injuries. I mean, if these teams that clinched aren't going to risk anybody. Like if CMC, he's not, but if CMC had like a growing issue, he wouldn't play. I guarantee the minor things, like there's like probably 7 or 8 starters that are going to be out. They're going to be replaced by a guy, like backups. So it's going to, that opens up the door though. I mean, I put so I'll start at number 5 and work my way up to number 1. So I put Easton Stick at number 5 because he's like the backup that's the most proven, that's under this amount. Obviously Jake Browning, but he's a little over that. Jake Browning's a little too expensive for the segment we're doing. So based on the price point and the experience, I put Easton Stick at 5. You could stick any backup quarterback in there that's got fairly decent weapons. I don't know if Puka and Cooper Kupp are going to play. Carson Wentz going to have some value. If Debo and Brandon Ayuk and Kittle and all those guys with the 49ers are going to play. Sam Darnold. I know Sam Darnold's under 5,000. So there's some great value in some other starters as well. I just happen to pick Easton Stick. Number 4, Demarcus Robinson. This guy's been playing like gangbusters, man. 4 touchdowns in the past 5 games, which is like an average of almost 1 a game. What? Yeah, I didn't believe it either. He's had 34 targets the last 4 games. So that's like, so he's averaging almost a touchdown a game, 8 targets a game the last month of the season. Just he's been coming on like crazy. He's really filled that void that after whatever the hell his name was, Van Jefferson. He's irrelevant. After Van Jefferson was traded, Demarcus Robinson's really been that solid number 3 receiver, and Tyler Higbee being gone. It's pretty much been a Puka, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, and Demarcus Robinson show. At 4,500, I think that's a good bet because he's gonna play. Carson Wentz has got a big arm. McVay's offense works for anybody. Look look Baker last year, or some of the other backups. If had it been Stetson Bennett playing this week, if he had not been dealing with his issues, somebody be getting these yards. It's going to be Demarcus Robinson this week. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a 100-yard game and a touchdown. I don't at all, because San Francisco, like I said, they're going to be resting a bunch of people. Demarcus Robinson's probably going to want another contract somewhere. He's going to want like, hey, I tore it up that's what Baker did. That's why he got the contract from the Bucs. From his performance, the Rams, and Demarcus Robinson and Wentz got something to prove. So, and speaking of the Rams, I put Davis Allen at number 3, 2,500 for a tight end. I like those chances because I haven't heard any reports, but if Cooper Kupp and Puka are out or going to be very limited, play a quarter or something like that, because the Rams already clinched. You just don't know. Tyler Higbee's out. To get a starting tight end for 2,500, that's a hell of a deal. I like it. Sign me up. I put him at number 3 because he had that big game against the Ravens. If you remember, he had 4 catches, 50 yards, and a tutty. So he proved that he can get it done in a big game. So I wouldn't be surprised if him and Demarcus Robinson both pop. That's why I put him here, and they're cheap. James Conner's a little more expensive at number 2, but yeah, he's just been tearing it up. Averaging 110 all-purpose yards the last 4 games. So just, that's between receiving and rushing. So he's been like pretty much 100-yard, per game monster the last 4 weeks. And then when you get touchdowns from him, and he had 15 a couple years ago, I know it's kind of down this year. He was hurt, but he's been tearing it up the last month of the year. The whole Cardinals team, they're on the upswing. That's a team. That's a dangerous team going into next year. I know they look like a joke right now. They're 4-12, but next year, Kyler, if he's fully healthy, McBride, if they go get Marvin Harrison Jr. In the draft, they'll actually have a legit number one receiver, a legit number one tight end, and James Conner. Who knows? They might have to move off him, or if he gets a little long in the tooth. But then you draft a running back, so you take Marvin Harrison, and then maybe you take Bucky Irving or Blake Corum in the second or third round, and get yourself a decent starting running back too. So James Conner, though, for the time being, put up number 2. And it's that time of the year. It's not Christmas anymore. We're past the new year, but every year it never fails, Jay. Every year there's always a Darius Slayton sighting. He pops up. It'll be like week 5. The most random ass games. This guy will pop like week 5. You'll see 6 catches, 102 yards, and a tutty. You'll be like, huh? What? Oh, Darius Slayton's still in the league. Oh, Darius Slayton's still getting targets. What the hell is this? And then so it'll be a random week early in the year, and then towards the end of the year, he does this. He does it every year. Go look it up. He does this every year. The last couple games of the year, he tears it up. This past let's see, the last 2 games he's had average of 98 yards a game, 2 touchdowns, so a touchdown. So basically, he's averaging 98 yards and a touchdown in the last 2 games. He's one of the better receivers, and they're going to play their guys. They got Tyrod out there. He can sling it a little bit. I think for 4,000, Penix Jr. coming up soon. Yes, he is. You damn right. Stay tuned for that. But yeah, if you're playing DFS this week, this is my number 1 bet. I'll stake my own money. I'll stick my own money on this. Darius Slayton, number 1, 4,000, best bet of the week. Money. Any thoughts on these guys?
I mean, it's funny to talk about Slayton. I mean, if Tyrod's in there, probably not a bad option.
Yeah.
Connor, I mean, Connor's. I mean, if he's going to continue, if he's going to play this weekend, sure, why not? Or, if he can, redo what he did this last weekend, then sure, why not? Easton Stick, I don't know. That's risky. The Chargers are trashy, anyways. If Roberts, for if you want to get some guys that are up there a little bit more, for a low budget, Robson, if he's actually getting that many targets, and if Stafford's slinging the ball around, why not? Why not give him a chance? You never know. I'm not sure much about Allen, but all of the rest of them look pretty damn good to me. Oh, and by the way, don't forget, if you guys are on Sleeper, I just got a notification where you can actually they're giving you $25 in your credits to play on their DFS for parlays. So I think it's available till like the January 14th or so. So go over there. If you guys are on Sleeper, go over and check it out now. You probably got a notification. They're giving you $25 to play on their site. So I would take advantage of that. So I'm going to take advantage of that as well. So yeah, if you guys are on Sleeper, go out there and check that right now and put some bets in. Since we're talking about
and speaking of which, you know what? If one segment was good, 2 is better. We're gonna crank these pick sixes out quick. This is another new game from DraftKings. Love DraftKings. I made a little bit of money, from nothing crazy or anything, but this is the way to do it, and it's so simple. You just get the app, and we don't have sponsorships or anything from them. I'm not talking them up. I just think it's a legit good service. Jay does parlays. I do them, and it is simple. You don't have to. You're not competing against 20, 50 other people in a bracket or in a pool, or 100 people, or even 10 people. It's pretty much just you and what you think. So the way I'm going to do it here, I have the yards listed, and then I'm going to go if I'm going to go under or over that. So I wish I had a graphic to be like, oh, but I'm not that sophisticated, so I'll just have to watch my mouth here. Start at number 5, CJ Stroud at 1.5 passing touchdowns. Hell yeah, sign me up. Tore up the Colts earlier in the season, and I think it's going to happen again. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game and more competitive, but I think the Texans are going to score points. I would easily take over a touchdown and a half. I would say at least I'd say 3 touchdowns. I think CJ is going to have 3 touchdowns. He's going to have a big game. Texans are going to get into the playoffs. So I would put money on that as one of my pick sixes. So I'm taking like there's other options, there's other games, but this is for Saturday. Obviously, if we had another show, I'd do Sunday because there's more games. But so these are the 5 I picked for Saturday. So you can do Sunday as well. Just to like, oh, where's the Rams players, or Eli, where's the Ravens players? Well, it's like I said, there's only a couple games on Saturday, so that's why I just went with what's here is available. But number 5, CJ Stroud. Yep, he's gonna have above touchdown and a half passing. Number 4, Josh Downs, 4.5 catches. I think under. He's he hasn't had. I think it's been 4 or 5 games since he's had over 4 catches. I mean, he's been coming down. I mean, middle of the year, he was like gangbusters. We thought, wow, this kid's really emerging. This guy might be the next, him and Tank Dell might be neck and neck for, like rookie receiver of the year or something. But he's really come back down to earth. And, Alec Pierce has gotten more involved in the offense. I'm going to say under. I'm going to say he's under 4.5 catches again. I think a lot of the work is going to be Pittman Jr. and the tight ends for Minshew this weekend. Number 3, Dameon Pierce. This seems like a joke, but he really hasn't since he came back from the injury. I think he's been over 15 yards rushing once. I think he had like 16 yards rushing. So this isn't as much of a joke as it looks like. But I mean, Dameon Pierce, like we were saying, this guy at one time was touted, hey, this guy might end up, middle of last year, we're thinking, oh man, this guy might turn into a top 5 running back. Wrong. Be lucky to stay in the league much longer. But 15.5 yards, I mean, all he needs is 1 20-yard carry, and he's above that. And I think he's due. I would say he's above 15.5 rushing yards. Number 2, Nico Collins, 71.5 receiving yards. Nico's really their only, other than the tight end. I mean, since Tank Dell's been out, I mean, it's a Nico show, and he had another big game this past weekend, and I think he's going to have one again. I think he's going to catch at least 1, if not 2 of Stroud's touchdowns that I'm projecting. So, and definitely with the receiving yards, I could easily see another 100-yard receiving game. So he's going to be well over 71.5 receiving yards. And just to recap quick, so CJ Stroud is going to be over touchdown and a half. Josh Downs is going to be below 4.5 catches. Dameon Pierce is going to be above 15.5 rushing yards. Nico Collins is going to be above 71.5 receiving yards. And then Gardner Minshew is actually going to be below 249.5 passing yards. And Gardner's had a bunch of 300-yard games this year, but he's been struggling as of late. And I think he'll have a solid game. Might get like 225, 230. But they set these marks for a reason. Like these Vegas guys, they know their stuff for a reason. And like I said, down the stretch here, he hasn't been throwing for as many passing yards. And I think he stays where he's at. And he only had like 170 something passing yards their first matchup earlier in the season. So I would go under 249.5. Any thoughts? Any thoughts on these, Jay, before we get into college spotlight and Penix?
Yeah, I probably agree with that because I think they're playing the Texans. That's going to be a rough game, so he might be under that. Collins, he could probably be over on 71. Pierce, that should be an easy parlay with him being. That's if he does get some if he does get some rushing yards. If Singletary's not taken away from him, that should be an up for there. And Downs, I mean, if it does come down to it, I mean, I can maybe see Downs maybe getting 5 catches. I could, if Minshew's getting in trouble, I could probably see it. So I might go over on the 5 or the 4.5. And CJ Stroud, I mean, he's got to get 2 touchdowns to make that one work. So, it's very possible in this game.
And that's the pick 6, and we did the super flex 5 up there. And you could pick, if you guys haven't tried this before, you can pick up to 6 players. So you can add one more to the 6 I just did. You can get into the Steelers game, or Steelers Ravens game is the other game on Saturday. If you want to pick a parlay from that, Mason Rudolph, if you think he's going to, I forget what his number was, but if you want to take the over for his passing yards or touchdowns or Pickens or any of those guys, Steelers will be playing everybody. And the same thing here. This is basically a playoff game, this Texans Colts game. So, and Ravens be the team that's resting. So the only 4 teams playing Saturday, the only one you got to worry about is Baltimore. But the other 3 are going to be fully stocked with all their players.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, guys. We are gonna be right back. We're gonna transition into our college spotlight. So we'll be back in like 15 seconds. So if you finally made it to the end of our show, we're gonna jump into Micheal Penix Jr. So let's jump into it and yeah, get into chats. Let's talk about this guy and let's go. Welcome back, everybody. Yes, it's been a very long stream, but we're gonna jump in and actually talk about Micheal Penix Jr. He was actually just the Sugar Bowl winner from this last Monday. But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting debate here. I got some stuff, I got some stats and stuff like that. I'll share here after Eli kind of jumps into everything, and yeah, I'll post this up later, share it later on, and yeah, this is gonna be a good debate.
Yeah, my main man Penix just been tearing it up. Tore up Texas, 430 yards, 2 touchdowns. You guys saw what happened there. Texas is, they're loaded, both sides of the ball. Just couldn't stop the guy. Couldn't stop the guy, and I think that's going to carry on in the NFL. So we're going to get into his prospects, if you will. I'll start off with who I think his comp is, and I don't know. Maybe people don't see this. I was thinking maybe Kirk Cousins, just with the size, but he's a better athlete. He's a better athlete than Kirk. I think he's more in like a left-handed CJ Stroud kind of realm. I could see him having similar rookie stats, kind of coming in next year and doing a lot of what CJ and I was impressed with his mobility even in the Sugar Bowl game. Everybody says, oh, he can't move. He needs a great offensive line. He can't move. He moves pretty damn well in the pocket. He's just not a scrambler.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow isn't a scrambler, but he can move well in the pocket too. You don't have to be. And Joe Burrow, when he's healthy, is probably a top 3 quarterback. So like, I want to get rid of that, because that's one of the knocks on Penix is he's not. Oh, he's not a scrambler. He's not. Oh, that's a good thing. I don't want him. He's gonna be your quarterback for the next 10, 15 years. I don't want him getting. I don't want to getting concussed like Tua. Multiple times a season or anything crazy like that. So yeah, that's where I would start the comp with is C.J. Stroud. Like I said, similar height, similar build, and just left-handed but yeah, I think similar stats. Draft Buzz, that's kind of who we've been going with lately. I know we did a couple other places for prospect rankings, but I just like Draft Buzz because they include a lot broader range of players. It's not just PFF or other places. It's very like first roundy, and I like a variety. We've done a bunch of different profiles, and I like the fact that there's a variety, and so they put him. Penix reminds me of Mike Vick, Eric. Not as much of an athlete, obviously. Mike Vick is more Lamar Jackson in terms of the ability. He can get you 100. Penix isn't going to rush for 100 yards, but he moves well in the pocket. I think he's like C.J. Stroud. That's why I use the comp there. He's a deceptive athlete. You just don't really see it because they don't ask him to do that. His strength is reading defenses and throwing it deep to Dunze, Polk. McMillan,
Right.
all the stud NFL receivers he's got. But yeah, Draft Buzz has got him as a number 9 overall prospect, number 4 quarterback behind obviously Caleb, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels. So he's projected to go in the first round. And like I had mentioned, he's got a 4.6 4.40, which is, for a quarterback, that's really good. That's nothing to snuff at. They're Tua, who everybody keeps calling him. They call him a taller, bigger arm Tua. Tua ran a 4.9. So He slings the ball like Dick. Yeah, probably the motion, Eric, but I think that's, I'll get into his strengths and weaknesses here in a second. Mechanics, that's another thing they're probably going to have to work on when he gets to the NFL, just to perfect that. But yeah, he's got a decent 40 time. Got decent, got prototypical quarterback size. Nothing wrong there. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. I need that. Oh yeah. I was gonna say where he's that was awkward. Where he's gonna go in the draft? I would assume he'd go to the Atlanta Falcons. They've got. I think he needs a good offensive line because, like I said, he's not a scrambler. So if you're gonna have a Burrow, if you're gonna have Mahomes, if you're gonna have a guy that's an athlete but not freakishly athletic like Josh Allen, Lamar, guys like that, AR5. You need to have a good offensive line, and I think Atlanta, because they got a top 5 offensive line, they have a ton of weapons in the top 5 offensive line. I think that'd be the perfect spot. I don't know about the coach. I think he's kind of an idiot. Quarterback, obviously that's why they're taking him. Heineke and Desmond Ridder, get the hell out of here. This was a wasted year. This was a wasted year for the Falcons, really, with all their cheap young talent. But Penix would fix a lot of that. I hate to see it because they're in Bucs division, but I mean Penix would fix a lot of their issues. His strengths and weaknesses, like I said, big arm, high football IQ, good intangibles. Like I said, it can layer throws. He can make every throw in the book. I mean, this guy is your prototypical NFL, 2024 NFL quarterback. I mean, this is what you want. Can sling it. Weaknesses, like I said, gonna need a good offensive line, and probably gonna need to fix his throwing motion, his mechanics a little bit. But they fixed Aaron Rodgers' mechanics. Remember, Aaron Rodgers came in and he kind of threw like a robot. Aaron Rodgers turned out to be one of the best quarterbacks ever. So, just because they got to fix your throwing a little bit, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had a great college career too. So, Penix is, I'd argue he's the best quarterback in the country, and he has been all year. He's better than Jaden Daniels. He's at least at the collegiate level. He's been better than Caleb. He's been better than all these guys. He's going to need some tuning up on his mechanics. Stats there. I'll get into a stats, then I'll let Jay jump in. 2022 and 2023, very similar stats. So he wasn't like a one-year wonder, and that's what people worried about with Joe Burrow. Is he was kind of a, he had those freakish stats in 2019. Like, can he translate that? And he sure as hell did. But, almost the same number of passing yards. The passing attempt, he's actually more efficient this year. Less passing attempts. The completion percentage was, about a point and a half higher, which is good. I mean, that's what they're going to want in the NFL. Is you got to be accurate. Okay, so that's the biggest thing, even more so than being able to throw a 70-yard bomb. You got to be accurate. 31 touchdowns last year, 35 this year. 8 picks last year, 9 picks this year. So, 4 rushing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. So, I mean, he can move a. I think some of these knocks are. I think the only thing I would say is the mechanics, and good NFL coaching is going to fix that real quick. So I think all around he is I think he's a better prospect than Drake May. He might be. I think it's probably Caleb, Jaden Daniels, and then Penix. I think Penix is the 3rd best quarterback prospect, and then I would put May and probably Bo Nix by 4 and 5. So I'll see what Jay thinks, but that's my analysis of Mr. Penix. And I was gonna say quick, he's done it against top end competition. I mean, they whooped Oregon a couple times this year, which isn't. I mean, Oregon's one of the best programs in the country. That isn't easy to do. Beat Texas. Even Oregon. Pac-12 was stacked this year. Even Oregon State, they beat. So I mean, they beat some really good teams this year. And another knock could be quick, and then I'll move on. That he had 3 NFL receivers, but maybe he made them. I mean, we haven't seen Odunze catch passes from like Tua yet, or McMillan catch passes from Russell Wilson yet. Like, that's to be seen. Like, who knows? We'll see when these 3 receivers are drafted what their careers end up to be. Comparable to Penix, and we'll see how things work there. And maybe they stay together. Maybe a team takes Penix in the first round, and then they take Polk in the, I don't know, third, fourth round. So
Yeah, for sure.
What are your thoughts?
I like Penix over Daniels. So that's just my opinion there. Williams, Mays, Penix, and then Daniels. But that's just me. I just think Penix is more of a NFL starter kind of quarterback than Daniels. I think he might take a little bit, but I mean, it all depends on where he's going to land too. I mean, Penix could sit a year or two. It all depends too. I mean, if he sits a year, I mean, the only downfall is a lot of people think that he's a little bit older quarterback, but I will mention that here in just a moment. So I am going to bring up. I'm going to kind of go backtrack here with the last things here real quick. So, Penix Jr. I'm just gonna kind of just give everybody an overlay on everything here real quick and whatnot. So pretty much, Penix Jr. started his career out
the Indiana days.
Yep. He started his career with the Hoosiers. He played 3 games as a freshman in 2018. He actually tore his ACL, against Penn State. So that kind of ended his freshman career, his freshman season. And 2019, he recovered from his ACL, earned his starting job back. He only played 6 games, and then he ended up having a shoulder joint injury on one of his arms there. So that kind of ended his 2019. In 2020, he actually played another 6 games to only tear his ACL in the same knee that he had surgery on. So he tore his ACL twice in that same knee. And that was in 2020. And then 2021, he only played 5 games during his junior year, only to miss just out on like the season to an AC joint on his throwing shoulder, I think it was, or one of his shoulders. So that's when he ended up transferring over to the Huskies. So in 2022, he was actually fully healthy. He actually played a full season, with the Huskies. So, and I'll pull this up here quick too as well. So I mean, just okay. Oh crap! I'm not sure what the heck's going on here. Something happened going on here.
So it's okay. I had some dead air for about 20 seconds, so we're good. I was like, what was I thinking of?
Yeah.
Should I put myself on the head?
Yeah. Yeah, something happened here, but yeah, crazy. But yeah, other than that, I was gonna do some other different slides there. Yeah, my little scrolls here are not popping up for some odd reason. Well, okay then. We'll just continue on here. But up here in the corner here, it shows his stint with the Hoosiers and the Huskies. Just some quick notes here. He had a high completion rate of 75%. He completed most of his passes. He averaged about 11 yards per attempt. His 2023 season, he averaged about almost 400 yards per game. And then Micheal Penix, he's kind of more of your pocket passer, kind of dual threat kind of guy. I mean, he'll run if he really has to. I mean, it's kind of so. He won't really run at all. And then a couple other notes here. He's got a great deep ball. I mean, his decisions into making, over kind of like the coverages can be a little scary a little bit, especially when it gets into, those tight areas and whatnot. But yeah, so that can be kind of scary. And then, and then he's great under pressure too. If he needs to, he'll scramble a little bit too as well. And then the other good thing he's actually good at is that he can actually hit receivers in stride, which is pretty awesome. And as you can see in some of that Sugar Bowl, some of his passes to Dunze and Polk and McMillan, some of them are just pretty much pretty much in stride catches. There was one where he one where he was actually like just hanging there for a little bit, and it was just kind of like just there. Um, but yeah, I mean, other than that, for his dynasty outlook, he's pretty much a first rounder somewhere in there. So, but yeah, those are just kind of my things on Penix there. And then so he's actually here's my QB comparison here real quick too as well, with Penix and McCarthy. A lot of people think just because he's been in the college, you know, in the college atmosphere for so long that he's a little bit older quarterback, that he doesn't have what it takes to be an NFL quarterback, that he's got too many injuries. But I mean, if you really think about it, he was plagued with a lot of injuries that in my eyes, he's maybe only got maybe 3 or 4 years under his belt, really, if you think about it, with the stint that he actually was in there, in with um college season, so yeah, it's weird. But
That's why I think that's what I was gonna say. That's why I think he needs a great offensive line and get the ball out quick, kind of like Tua. Obviously Tua's got to do it because he's smaller. He just got a quick release, but I and then this national championship matchup. I don't know I'm not a JJ McCarthy guy. I know Harbaugh was talking him up at the press conference. Oh, he's the best quarterback in Michigan history. And I'm like, sorry, did you forget that Tom Brady existed? You know what I mean? There's been some other, maybe statistically, because these numbers are all inflated these days. Maybe statistically, JJ McCarthy is up there, all time. But and this matchup here, this to me, dude, it's one sided. Penix is head and shoulders above JJ McCarthy, not only in college but as an NFL prospect. I really think if McCarthy was taken high, he'd be a bust. Whereas Penix, injuries is the only thing that would stop Micheal Penix from not being at least a top 12 quarterback, in my opinion.
yeah, I think Penix is a little bit better quarterback over McCarthy. He's still learning, but I mean, I just think Penix is a little bit more ready for the NFL transition. McCarthy might take a year or so before he kind of gets there. I believe that's just me and my thoughts on that, as on my thoughts as well on that. But yeah. And then
Do you have? I was going to say, now, do you think, because the injury, I kind of just ignored it. I knew about the two ACL injuries, but I don't. I almost think it's like two careers, because Indiana, you saw the stats you put up there. Like Indiana, he was a very pedestrian quarterback. Didn't turn the ball over a ton. I mean, was very efficient. Didn't but he wasn't putting up these gaudy stats he is with Washington. I mean, it was like 4 years of nothing, pretty much. But so I don't even consider. I consider it like a 2-year Washington career. I know, and he's not even that old. I mean, he'll be 24 by the time he's drafted. That's really not that old. I mean, I'm trying to think. Like, I think Joe Burrow was what 23 when he. Yeah. So he's not much older than what Joe Burrow was when he came in. And people weren't talking about Burrow's age. So, and a lot of these guys, and going forward, Jay, because of the NIL money, a lot of these guys will be 23, 24, maybe 25 years old when they get to the league. Bo Nix is going to be 25 because there's so much money in college. Like what, and it helps these guys get seasoned too. So they come in to the NFL and they are ready to rock and roll. The age thing and the injuries thing, I think if he had just, if 2022 ACL, he had been out all year, and then, this year, fully healthy, put up these stats, then you might be a little concerned. I don't know. I don't think it's an issue anymore. I think that phase of his career, it's kind of like CMC. CMC was banged up for a long, long time, but he's had 2 consecutive fully healthy seasons, and I think that's in the rearview mirror. And I think it's the same thing with Micheal Penix.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think they're going to win the national championship. And I would put money. I would put money on Washington. They're a little bit of an underdog, but I think Washington's going to beat Michigan.
Yeah.
How are you going to stop? How are you going to stop him? How are you going to stop these receivers? You got 3 of them that are going to be drafted probably within the first 4 rounds of the NFL draft. You know what I mean? How are you going to stop these guys?
Right. Yeah, that's gonna be the main thing there. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, they got 3 talented NFL caliber wide receivers. I mean, Polk for sure, and Odunze. McMillan not so much. I mean, he was injured most of this year, but McMillan is a name to actually put in the back of your mind. You know what I mean? Kind of see where he goes in the draft and whatnot. So.
Yep.
Well, unfortunately, I can't take this off the screen, so we're kind of screwed right now. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we're kind of stuck with this, I guess. So until we end the show, so yeah, it's kind of one of those things. So yeah, unfortunately, we're just kind of stuck with this template just up here. So sorry, guys. This stream's kind of it's been long enough already as is, and yeah, this kind of covers our Penix Jr. and I will we'll actually get this we'll wrap this up, and we'll just gonna conclude our show here. So we'll see if this actually works too. If not, we'll just have to probably just conclude and end our show. Oh, all right, guys. Well, that was everything. That kind of wrapped up Micheal Penix Jr. and whatnot. So that's I don't know. I think this is going to be a nice ending to our show. And I don't know if there's anything else you want to mention real quick before we get up out of here. But I guess kind of what we kind of got going on too as well, kind of for the off season stuff, I guess.
So obviously the season's coming to an end, but still going to do parlays. Obviously, can do some DFS 5. If that segment helps you guys make a few bucks, you make 50, whatever. I stand behind this stuff. I mean, this is what me and Jay does it on different platforms. I do it, but parlays are it's anybody can jump into them. That's what I love. You don't have to have a ton of knowledge or a ton of time. It's just it's simple. So keep that going with DraftKings. Love that segment. More spotlights coming up. More, and we'll take a look at risers too. Risers and fallers. Like, who were some of the NFL guys? Obviously we mentioned Eckler. His value is just tanked. Couple other guys. Like Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford's value, I think, has gone up because I think we all thought he was done. We thought he was washed, thought he was injury plagued, and Matt Stafford kind of came back in a strong way. So we'll see what we got to say about, as like a comparison. Like, one older guy's career might be going this way, one older guy's career might be going that way. Get into some rookies. I think next week we're gonna do I think we'll do some positions. I don't know if we're gonna do all the positions, but we keep it to skill guys. I mean, we're not gonna. Hey, who are the top five rookie kickers? You like the guy from Dallas, Jamie? Like, no, we're not doing that. We're not gonna do top 5 linebackers. If you do defensive players, no, it's gonna be skill position. It's gonna be quarterbacks, tight ends, receivers, and running backs. Review who we think our top 5 are, and we'll have all the we'll have all the information in from the regular season by then. Have all the stats in there. We'll kind of divvy up how we're going to do that, but you can definitely expect a lot of player reviews from this previous year, player projections going forward, DFS stuff, more college spotlights. We're gonna we want to crank out quite a few of these because there's a lot of guys we haven't touched on yet. I'd really like to do Bucky Irving from Oregon, the running back. I think he's gonna have an good NFL career. So guys like him, we tried to stay away from the big names until now, obviously Penix, but obviously we could get into, anybody, Jaden Daniels, A lot of players a lot of skill guys to work with because that's the beauty of the show. So we're gonna get into all that. And yeah, but you won't be what you expect. We're not going to be. We might review some of the wild card games, or like next week we might review some of the Week 18. Like, we didn't see that coming. Carson Wentz had 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, what's Wentz's? Is Wentz have a NFL career again? Or we might be talking about stuff like that, just reviewing Week 18. But it'll be a lot more of like, kind of it should be rookies, best of the best kind of deal.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of want to do. I mean, if we can, I kind of want to get into. I want to preview this championship game here this upcoming week. I want to preview that. Just talk about the the Washington and Michigan game. So kind of want to preview that, and then we
Sure.
can probably get into some of the other stuff we just mentioned. I would just the kind of want to talk about rookie. I kind of our next kind of couple shows too as well. I want to talk about some just 2023 rookie class, what we thought overall. Guys that we were just like, holy crap, I didn't see that come in, or just some different stuff on those lines, and maybe compare them to some of the guys of 2022 or whatever. So I mean, and kind of look forward to some of these 2024 class as well. So I mean, just kind of talk about some of those things in general for the off season, and I guess we'll just kind of take it from there as well. But yeah, other than that, go ahead.
I was gonna say I want to thank everybody for that did tune in, and if nothing else, share this with people. Be like, hey, these guys are, if you have a random friend that lives in the basement, so, I don't know, but everybody's got somebody that's into fantasy sports or football. I mean, everybody's got somebody in football. Share it with them. Be like, hey, these guys are projecting Micheal Penix, who could be the next great to good NFL quarterback coming in. And if you're a Falcons fan, I'd really, if you know any Falcons fans, share it with them, because if I were to bet money right now, I'd say that Micheal Penix is an Atlanta Falcon after the 2024 draft. And then a close second, Jay. I think a close second would be the Raiders, be the Vegas Raiders. I think he'd be good. Sure. He's a West Coast guy. I think it'd be. Well, he's born in Tampa, but you get my point. Like, he played for the Huskies for a while, so that, he stays on that side of the country. So that makes sense too. But share the video and help us get this out here a little bit, especially with DFS. I mean, everybody knows somebody does DFS as well. So in the middle of the show, you can skip past whatever. We know these are long-winded streams that go almost 2 hours. We get it. Kind of. And we might put some markers in there, be like, hey, go to the DFS part at hour in, and somebody could be like, oh yeah, that, if it helps, it helps. That's why we do it. We try to get ourselves a little bit, and you guys a little bit too. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, other than that, I think this kind of wraps up everything. Make sure you join join our Discord, please. We're trying to get more people into our Discord.
Yes.
The link is actually in the description, and if you don't, you also, if you don't catch our live streams, we got Spotify, Apple, and Google Pods as well. So you can find all of our content on most of those three main applications. So you can find all of our content there. I mean, there are some other little ones that end up getting spread around, but those are the three main places you can find us that are, where our content is most of the time. If not, you can find us in the Discord too as well. So. But yeah, I think that kind of wraps up everything. If there's anything else, we hope everybody has a nice 2024 start of the year, and we'll see you guys another time. I'm not sure when we'll see you guys again, so we'll figure that out and let you guys know, and we'll mention that in our Discord and whatnot. So we'll let you guys know. It might more likely be Wednesdays. I do want to get this other preview in too as well, this before Monday. But yeah, other than that, I think Wednesdays are kind of our goal for the off season.
When are you thinking you want to do that the Natty preview?
Let's talk about that after. We'll talk about after the stream here. We'll talk about that after the stream. After we get this wrapped up. Yeah.
Or you can DM me tonight so you can get to work. But we'll end the. You can.
Yeah, we'll end this here.
We'll talk about it then.
Yep. So everybody, we appreciate your time. Thanks for all the comments tonight and whatnot. And make sure you follow us on all of our content we just mentioned, and get in our Discord, please. It's always fun to have new people talk about different things, sports. We have different channels up in there, so come join us, talk some sports. Let's just grow our Discord a little bit more. So, all right, guys, we're gonna get up out of here. From Jamie and Eli, we're out of rhythm. We'll see you guys next time. Let's catch you guys later.
And Micheal Penix too. He says, "Have a nice day."
Later, guys.